There we go. The mic is working. We can record the video now. Okay, we've made it. It's episode number 2 of this. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is a video covering all of the best and most important generic fire cards that you should know about when building a fire deck in domain format. Fire is one of the smallest attributes. It actually only in recent years has started to see a lot more support, mostly in the last year actually. Same warning as last time, I'm going to miss stuff, and also there's going to be stuff that comes out after this video that you should be aware of. So don't forget to check out the pinned comment in the comment section, and you're going to see more ideas and updates about what you should be thinking about that are not in this video. But this should be a really good starting point for you to be considering. Starting with the biggest kind of boss monsters that can fit into just about any fire deck, maybe not optimally, but still can work. We have True King Agnamazud the Vanisher. Now, there are several True King monsters of each of the elemental attributes, being Earth, Wind, Fire, and Water. And the same goes for the next card, Blaster, Dragon Ruler of Infernos, as well as its baby version, Burner, Dragon Ruler of Sparks. Vanisher, when summoned, can banish a monster on the opponent's field or graveyard, and if both monsters destroyed to summon it were fire, you can add a worm monster from your graveyard to your hand that isn't fire. So if you're playing more of a wider domain, it has more applicable use. Blaster can banish 2 fires or dragons from hand or graveyard to special summon itself, and then it can also discard itself and a fire monster from the hand to target and destroy a card on the field. So both of them have a little bit of versatility in how they can affect the opponent. So Gizmek Kaku is actually pretty easy to meet the requirement of. If there is a monster anywhere in anyone's extra monster zone in a domain game, you can special summon it from your hand, and then you can target a monster in the extra monster zone and equip it to itself. It's a weird sort of extension and removal effect. It is conditional, but because so much of Yu-Gi-Oh! Revolves around, the extra deck, this is going to be easy to proc in most cases. Burning Dragon, if your opponent controls 2 or more monsters and this card is in your hand, you can special it, and then if it was normal or special summoned, you can discard a spell card to destroy all spells and traps in the field. A massive board wipe, and a summoning condition that's not that difficult to fulfill. Magmacho Dragon, Magmacho? Probably Magmacho. If a face-up fire monster you control is destroyed by battle or card effect, and it's in your graveyard, you can special summon it, but then banish it when it leaves the field. And then you can draw a card when it's summoned that way. And you can also banish fire monsters from your graveyard to buff it up to 3000 attack. This card would see use in a deck that really revolves around banishing and recurring banished monsters. But other than that, it doesn't have like a huge, immediate impact when it hits the board, but it's still pretty interesting. If you're playing any deck that uses equip spells, you might want to be considering Immortal Phoenix Deerfried. If you can get them in the graveyard really easily, it's very easy to special summon from the hand, and it has a pretty solid negation effect if you can have it equipped with an equip card. We're going to be talking more about Fire Warrior decks later because that is a pretty big theme in the Fire attribute, but this card is a little more generic than a lot of those cards. You always want to know the kaijus of your attribute, and Fire has Dogoran, and as well as Lava Golem, a way earlier version of kaijus, but it's non-targeting, non-destruction, just flat-out removal. You tribute over your opponent's monster and get rid of the problem. So these are pretty important. Hida the Fire Channeler. Unsurprisingly, we're seeing Charmers here. There's a Charmer of every attribute, and they have a lot of different versions. Hida is a way to pretty generically search any fire monster from your deck to your hand, as long as you can meet the attack point requirements. And then it can also special itself from your hand when a fire monster is destroyed by battle, but I don't know how often that one's going to be as relevant as the first effect. You're mostly going to want to use it for searching. Fencing Fire Ferret is cute. The effect seems kind of slow and out of date, because, it has to be destroyed and sent to the graveyard in order to target and destroy the opponent's monster. But the thing that is interesting about this card is that it does not say where it has to happen. There are plenty of modern fire cards that can destroy things from the hand, places other than straight up on the field. So Fencing Fire Ferret is actually a bit easier to trigger than you think. Not saying that it is the best thing you could be doing, but it is there. The next 3, they're different from each other, but I wanted to include them all kind of together. So we have Red Resonator. On normal summon, it can special summon a level 4 lower monster from your hand, and if it's special summoned, you can target a monster in the field and gain life points. That second effect will come up more than you expect. The life point game could come in handy, but you are mostly playing it for that extension effect on the first part. And since it's a tuner, it'll help you do synchro summons, it can help you do link plays. If you're summoning another level 2, it could even be for Xyz plays, and we'll get to the level 2 thing later. We have Super Quantum Red Layer and Electro Blaster. What all these cards have in common is just free bodies on the board in one way or another. Super Quantum Red Layer can special summon itself if you control no other monsters. Unfortunately, the rest of the card doesn't really do anything. It has to be being played alongside other Super Quantum monsters to really get the most out of it. But the fact that it is a fire warrior means it does have synergy with a lot of other fire warrior cards. Electro Blaster works better in pyro focus decks than just standard fire ones, but if you do normal or special a fire monster, it can special summon itself from your hand. Kurikara Div Incarnate is a very powerful hand trap in a format where hand traps are not as powerful as they are in advanced format in, regular competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! Kurikara Div Incarnate is kind of a different one because being able to tribute all face-up monsters on the field that activated their effects during this turn, this can wipe a board at the end of a combo. And it's funny because you have to divert your attention between multiple players in domain format. So if you have this in your hand, you can kind of hold it while other people are being targeted and doing a lot of the fighting for you. Suddenly you have this massive monster on the field that came out of nowhere and tributed a bunch of monsters in the process. It also gives you a free special summon of an opponent's monster at the end of the turn. Like this is interesting. I actually am really curious to see what decks this card works best in. It seems like it has a lot of potential. One of the best tuners in the entire game is Jet Synchron. Being able to recur itself from the graveyard to summon itself again. Also being a level 1 tuner means it has a lot of flexibility with what kind of synchro monsters it can summon. Unfortunately, you're not really going to be getting the junk card search effect very frequently. Not in a fire deck anyway. You kind of have to be running a wider domain to make use of that part. Honestly, that's kind of it for most of the most generic kind of effects that are useful. Most of those cards do have synergies with more specific strategies, but you can play them more generically in fire decks. Moving on more into types, we do have a bit of a plant package here. There's the Phoenixian Cluster Amaryllis, which is notorious for all sorts of weird loops and combos. If you can load up your graveyard with a ton of plant monsters, it can keep bringing itself back during the end phase and inflicting 800 to the opponent, assuming you have a loop in play that destroys it once it comes back, or removes it from the field in some way when it comes back. And wouldn't you know it, one of the best plant monsters in the game, Lone Fire Blossom, is also fire. So this is a good starting point for some sort of plant package. I guess I'll throw in there Fengli the Soldier Palm is also fire, and with the amount of Aramage support that does exist in other places, we do have Aramage Bergamot, which is kind of harder to summon. It's not really a combo starter, but I don't know. Maybe there's some synergy with Aramage stuff that could make that relevant. There are 2 Sylvan fire attribute monsters, but again, conditional. It's just, I'm throwing out the attribute names here for you plant combo enthusiasts, but I don't know how relevant these are. The last one that could be relevant is Ragnarika Skeletal Soldier. It's a link 2 that requires any 2 insect, plant, or reptile monsters, and plant's in there, and it is a plant monster itself, so, maybe. Between Evilsar and Jurak, there are a good amount of fire dinosaur cards, but a lot of them are on the lower power level. However, one that isn't is Miscellaneousaurus. Insert have you read Misk meme here. This card is insane. It doesn't really have a ton of straight up fire monsters to pair with. The recent release of Xenometeorus and Transcendosaurus Meteorus maybe changes that a bit. Maybe there are fire dinosaur decks that really could thrive. And Jurak did recently get some more support, so we'll see. Sublimation Knight is a very interesting card. On normal or special, you can equip a Fire Warrior or Gemini monster from your hand or deck to it as an equip spell. And if it's destroyed by an opponent's card while equipped, you can special summon the Gemini monsters as effect monsters and gain their effects. That is all fine and dandy, but the main thing is being able to equip a monster straight from your deck to him. It creates a lot of weird scenarios that would not exist otherwise, but it's for very particular combos. But given that it is a, say with me, Fire Warrior, it's there again. Now we enter kind of archetype stuff. This one does lean into the type area a bit more. Shiranui Solitaire is a very important component of zombie strategies. It's kind of like the Lone Fire Blossom for zombie monsters. The thing is though, there aren't a lot of fire zombie monsters except for its own archetype, the Shiranui. There is Ash Blossom, there is Nine-Tailed Fox, there is Jack-O-Bolin, but I don't really know if that's enough to really warrant much. The only noteworthy thing I can really think of with the fire zombie angle besides Shiranui is Kaiser Dragon and Kaiser Dragon Assault Mode. These cards, alongside a zombie world, like the revival effect on Assault Mode is insane. I don't know if you've read this thing, but it really does just say bring back as many zombies as you want. And that's from any graveyard. If there are zombies in there, aka you have zombie world on the field, you can bring back monsters from any of the 3 players in the duel and just go at it. I was mentioning Red Resonator being a level 2 is interesting earlier because in the last video, I talked about sprite monsters and how more of the consistency side of the sprite engine is in dark, but a lot of the negates and recursion are in fire. So you have sprite red, carrot, and sprite elf. And sprite elf is not just for sprites. I mean, this card is really good for reviving level 2s in general. So fire does have some pretty powerful negation at its disposal. Tenpai is a recent archetype that we got, and it is it's been met with different opinions. But the reason that they matter here is because they do kind of have support for Fire Dragon, not just Tenpai or their Sangen spell trap lineup. So it is worth mentioning if you are considering a Fire Dragon strategy, you are going to want to consider that. Dora Dora also goes into that. If it's normal summon, you can add a level 4 or lower Fire Dragon monster from your deck to your hand. Battle and Boxer also fits into that Fire Warrior motif that we've talked about. I want to highlight Chief Second for a second though. This is a little more of a generic card. It says when an opponent's monster declares an attack while you control a warrior or fire monster, you can special it from your hand and then negate the attack, then banish a monster on the field until the end phase. So it's a weird protection and pseudo removal effect. It's not the most powerful, but it is a disruptive thing that you can do during the battle phase. And lastly, on the Fire Warrior train, there are 2 archetypes that need to be mentioned. Obviously, for people who are familiar with the Equip theme and the Fire Warrior theme, Inferno is a massive part of it. But there's also the more recent Fighting Flame Swordsman. Both these archetypes kind of go in different directions, but there is overlap in there. I bet that there is some Fire Warrior combo thing that you can do that includes both archetypes in some capacity. Bonus round! We're gonna go a bit faster for this one. So we're gonna be just naming off archetypes. We got Rescue Ace, we got Snake Eyes, we got Fire King, we got Volcanic, we got Springans, we got Salamangrate, and we got Infernoid. That, seriously, I mean, that is kind of all of them. There's not a lot that I didn't say there that we didn't cover before. Oh, and Fire Fist, of course. I don't know how I didn't think of that before. Fire Fist is definitely a thing. Now, Fire Fists don't really have a ton to do with the fact that they're fire. It's more that they're Beast Warrior, but they are fire attributes, so they are worth mentioning here. Horse Prince specifically is kind of interesting because you can special any level 3 fire monster from your deck in the game. It doesn't negate its effects or anything, but it locks you into not being able to special summon level 5 or higher monsters for the rest of the turn. That means you either got to go Link or Xyz plays afterwards. I almost forgot to mention Metal Foes. Metal Foes are all fire, and they're a Pendulum archetype. If you want to learn how to play Pendulum monsters, it's a very beginner-friendly deck into getting to Pendulum, so highly recommend it. Before we get into the big extra deck monsters that are important to fire, I'm actually going to quickly go through the spells and traps. OG, very iconic card, Rekindling. Any fire monster with 200 defense in your graveyard, that's not 200 or less, it has to be exactly 200. You can special summon as many from your graveyard as you want, but they get banished during the end phase of the turn. This card is insane. If you've ever read Soul Charge, this card is a themed one that does not have a downside, basically. Oil is kind of surprising that it just got released. It's target 2 level 4 lower fire monsters with different names in your graveyard, add them to your hand. Birth of the Prominence Flame is a very specific kind of revival card because it brings back 2 monsters and then synchros with them immediately. Similar conditions to Rekindling. Fire Recovery is a reborn spell, and then it can also recycle fire monsters. I think this card is really good for the longevity in fire decks. Firestorms over Atlantis is a card that generically can destroy a fire monster in your hand to draw a card. You are going -1, but you are probably triggering a Fire King or some other monster that likes to be destroyed in hand in order to do this. You also, through most points in the duel, can just banish them from the graveyard to get a free revival for a level 7 or 8 fire monster. So Yeah, really, really cool card. Alongside the Snake Eyes cards, we have the first Sinful Spoils, Snake Eye. You can send a face-up card you control to the graveyard, special summon a level 1 fire monster from your hand or deck. You can also then later banish it to add a level 1 fire monster from your deck to your hand. Then you could recycle a Snake Eyes monster from your graveyard. So very, very good card for level 1 fire monsters, like insanely powerful. Fire King Sanctuary has a lot of effects that work very in tandem with the Fire Kings, shockingly, right? But I do include it as a generic helpful spell card here because it does let you protect a field spell that you control by destroying a fire monster in your hand. So there are other situations where it could be good, but you're probably not beating it in a Fire King deck. Inferno Arn's Durandal is just a generic search for a level 5 or lower fire warrior from deck to hand. It's an equip spell, so it does go along with some other stuff we talked about before. And then sometimes it gets to revive something from grave if the conditions are correct. For the traps, there's Echelon of the Fire Kings. It lets you special summon 3 fire monsters from hand, deck, or grave, but this is more of a tri-beast support card. It has to be a beast warrior, and a winged beast. So it can work with other stuff in fire, but it's not as likely. This is mostly a Fire King support card. Salamangreat Revive is just a generic revival trap card for a fire monster. You just play it, and you bring back a fire monster. All the other text on this card is if you're playing a Salamangreat deck. It can boost the attack of a monster. And Spiritual Fire Art Kurenai. Tribute a fire monster, inflict damage to your opponent equal to that monster's attack. If you're playing more of like a burn-oriented fire deck, this card is going to have some use, so, you know, worth considering. Okay, so I'm now going to cover the fusions, and there are really only 2 fusions I thought worth mentioning. Okay, so this first fusion is Dastardly, Diabolical, Blaze Phoenix the Burning Bombardment Bird. This card is known for many an OTK or FTK in regular Yu-Gi-Oh! In Domain, this card is going to do way more damage if it actually goes off. Someone is going to want to interrupt this card and stop it from doing the burn damage. It does target one person. This is not going to burn all 3 opponents. It's just going to burn one of them, but it can end their life. So yeah. I'm going to quickly mention El Shaddoll Grista because while it is hard to proc this card's effect, there is a Fire Shaddoll monster, and it does make Shaddoll Fusion a Foolish Burial for a fire monster. But that's it. There's really not a lot of fire fusions to mention except for the Metalfill ones. On to Synchros, I'm literally just going to go in order. I already talked about Fire Prince earlier. Vulcan the Divine is a cool level 6. It lets you bounce a card on your field and a 1 card on an opponent's field back to the hand. It's good for recycling your own cards if you want to reuse their effects, and it's, you know, decent removal. It's a bit weak for a level 6. I wish its attack points were kind of higher, but other than that, it's cool. For level 7, we got Rampaging Smash Tank Rhino Saber, the iconic Black Rose Dragon, Ancient Flamebell Deity. All 3 of these have their own use and their own way of dealing with different sorts of boards. You can read them. For level 8, we have very different ones here. Salamangreat Burst Griffin, Crimson Blader, Ignister Prominence the Blasting Draco Slayer, and Black Brute Drago. Black Brute Drago is all about Gemini and, you know, reviving those cards. Ignister Prominence can special a Draco Slayer from the deck, and if you're playing Pendulum, it can shuffle back cards from the field into the deck. Very good removal. Crimson Blader can completely lock down an opponent from normal or special summoning level 5 or higher monsters during their next turn. Like, if you can land that attack, that shuts down certain decks. Burst Griffin is cool because while I don't know how good Salamangreat Burst Griffin is good in Salamangreat, but I do know that this card just says revive a level 7 or lower fire monster in your graveyard. So that's pretty neat. That's pretty handy. At level 9, we have Vermilion Dragon Mech. You can banish a tuner from your hand, graveyard, or on the field to target a card on the field and destroy it. And then if it is destroyed by card effect and sent to your graveyard, you can target a banished tuner and add it back to your hand. So both those effects come in handy in different circumstances, but, you know, pretty solid level 9. Trident Dragon is the big fire dragon boss that just ends someone's life immediately. It attacks several times. It's very disruptible, but when you have support from some of the Sangan cards, it gets a little trickier to deal with him. On to Xyz. I'm gonna name a classic one. I don't know how often this one's gonna come up, but Wind Up Zen Mains. I love this card. It's power crap. I mean, you can just get rid of it by not destroying it. But hey, I mean, it's a cool wall, and it can remove stuff sometimes. I don't know, it's cute. Dugar is the Timeless is known in many a combo deck. This really sets up and facilitates a lot of boards that you would not be able to make without him. Similarly, Lavalval Chain, they kind of both do that. Chain has been banned for a long time for a reason. That generic Foolish Burial that you have access to just from the extra deck by having 2 level 4 monsters is kind of crazy. Badland Boxer King Dempsey is definitely worth noting because on special, it can take any level 4 lower fire warrior or Badland Boxer spell trap and add it to your hand or send it to the graveyard. So it searches or dumps any fire warrior level 4 lower. And that's on special, not on XC summon. So if you get this in rotation and bring it back, it can keep searching stuff. And on top of that, it can protect itself from targeting for the rest of the turn by detaching material from any monster on your field, not just itself. So if you play an Xyz focus deck, this card can continue to be annoying. Volcasaurus is good for decks that can make rank 5s, detach a material, blow up a monster your opponent controls, inflict damage to them. Just solid. Like, sometimes it's going to win you a game. Finally, on to the Link monsters. Starting with the only Link one, it's a very notorious one, Salamangreat Almirage. This card is not even really good because it's a Salamangreat, it's good because you can get a monster with 1,000 less attack off the field. It just triggers a bunch of cards that need to go to the graveyard very easily. Ferocious Flame Swordsman buffs all of your warriors by 500, and then if they destroy it by battle or card effect, you can revive a non-Link warrior from your graveyard. Proxy F Magician just facilitates fusions. If you're playing a deck that fuses, it's a very good extra deck tool for fusing if you don't have the proper fusion card to do it yourself. Flame Tongue protects all of your face-up spells and traps. In Domain, when you're playing all of these cards that can just randomly board wipe, this card is pretty nice insurance. And it also can just bring back banished fire monsters. And remember what we said earlier, there are a bunch of fire cards that like to banish in order to facilitate their effects. Pit Knight early is basically a negate. If you know how to facilitate your Link arrows properly and do the combo correctly, this can end up being a good disruption. Dark had access to Nightmare Unicorn. We have a different one here, Nightmare Phoenix. It's not as generically good in terms of removal, but you can discard a card to get rid of a spell or trap on the field. And sometimes that utility is really important to get rid of a problematic spell or trap card that's messing you up. Two really powerful ones that you are going to see in a lot of fire decks are Heavy Metal Foes Electromite and Heated the Fire Charmer Ablaze. Hida being able to revive a fire monster from any opponent's graveyard. So if a single person is playing a fire monster in their deck, suddenly you can do that to Link climb into something bigger. We'll get to what that is in a second. Electromite is probably the best pendulum support card ever printed. It's good in Metal Foes because Metal Foes naturally gives it the draws that it will allow you to have. But I promise you, if you play something like Ignite or just any other pendulum deck that has fire in it and you're able to play it in this domain, you are not going to regret having Electromite in your extra deck. Promethean Princess Bestower of Flames. This card is newer, and this card is notorious for being a big part of Fire King and Rescue Ace and Snake Eye. All of the really good fire decks play this card, but Hida goes right into it. You play Hida, revive a fire from an opponent's graveyard, and then turn it into Promethean Princess. It also keeps recurring itself, and it can revive fire monsters from your graveyard. It's just a very annoying card to get rid of. And lastly, we have Amphibious Swarm Ship Ambler Whale. It also contributes to the annoying factor. This card is bigger. If they get rid of it, it can bring back monsters from your graveyard, and it can banish itself from the graveyard to pop a card in the field if said Link 3 lower monster ends up being destroyed by battle or card effect. I almost completely forgot about the wide domains here. I'm not going to mention like the true rainbow domains. I have a whole video about that. I'm not going to say them every single video. But here are the wide domains for fire. The Ryziel archetype that is coming out in the near future, your X Ryziel creates light and fire. Loud Cloud the Storm Serpent is water, fire, and wind. Carbonetton is earth and fire. Gen X Ally Volcanon is dark and fire. Water Dragon, Frost and Flame Dragon, and Mistar Boy are all water and fire. Gen X Ally Triforce is dark, fire, earth. And last video I said that Black Ray Lancer is the only Xyz monster with a wide domain. Well, we just got something else. Ruby Sapphirus, the Adamant Jewel, is earth, fire, and water. So yeah, that's pretty much all the fire cards. There's probably some burn strategy that I could have gone more into here, but between Phoenix and Cluster Amaryllis and some of the volcanic support and the Bombardment Bird, I think that you have enough to work with there as a starting point. You can explore yourself to see if there are ways to burn your opponent, you know, deplete their life points by card effects, that kind of stuff. Reading these cards and seeing how many of these are just modern Yu-Gi-Oh power level, like 2024 Yu-Gi-Oh, It's really crazy to think that we live in a time where fire cards are some of the most powerful in the game, when historically they've been some of the most neglected. Anyways, we're pretty early on in this series. We got a lot more attributes to cover. We're eventually going to start doing types, but we got to get through attributes first. And I'm really looking forward to see what this all looks like when it's completed. That all being said, if you haven't liked the video yet, okay? What are you doing? Click the like button, please. Subscribe if you haven't already. We're going to be doing a lot more of these. And eventually we're going to be doing actual domain and other Yu-Gi-Oh content that isn't just me talking about cards. This is supposed to help new people getting into domain, but I do want to do some more stuff soon. And hey, look, it was on schedule. Hopefully. Might be a day late, we'll see. Comment anything I missed, any ideas you have, any combos. If you are inspired and interested in building your domain deck either for the first time or you're just brewing in the pot right now, then by all means, share your thoughts, share your feelings, anything. I want to hear it in the comments. That's all I got today. I'll see y'all next time, next week, on Thursday, when we do... I don't know. Tell me. Have a good one, everyone. I'll see y'all soon.